All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Courtney Brame. I am the founder, executive director, podcast host, yoga teacher, peer support facilitator. I think that's it, of Something Positive for Positive People. This is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has started out supporting people navigating herpes stigma. It began in 2017, just as me interviewing people who were living with herpes about their experiences. I'm very honored to be back at STI Engage. Back in the day, it was STD Engage. I had issues with that, the word disease over infection. And it's nice to see that that has changed over the years. So what I want to show y'all real quick is what we presented, or the abstract that I presented the first year that I was here. How you do this? Oh, this button. All right, I got it. This was an abstract. I mentioned that I started out interviewing people living with herpes, and the reason for that was because I learned that people with herpes had suicide ideation. And I just asked of the people who were in the support groups that I was in. I have herpes myself. I forgot to lead with that. But I started to just ask, like, okay, what's been your experience with herpes? And over time, what ended up happening was I developed somewhat of some momentum, a community, and was able to just go, hey, I have these survey questions. Can y'all answer these? And then we were able to get a lot of responses just off of the expressions of vulnerability, I guess, from my own experience, as well as the people who've been willing to come onto the podcast and share their own experiences. So we had asking the question, have you ever had any of the following as a result of your diagnosis? One of which was suicide ideation. And as you'll see here, it's almost 49%. And this was in 2019 when I could only get access to like 100 people. So since then, the podcast is at like almost 400 episodes. So these are all interviews with people living with herpes, a couple solo episodes, as well as interviewing sex therapists and people in the world of public health to get more of a scope of what people might be experiencing. So for today's objectives, also, I don't have any disclosures. It's just me. I have a board, and they're cool with me being here. But I just want y'all to really be able to witness what community can look like. I want for y'all to have more of an expansive somatic understanding of what stigma is and what it feels like. So we're going to do a thing that's going to require y'all to put y'all's phones down for 5 minutes. People with phones. And then, yeah, we'll be able to see sort of what the long-term impact of safe spaces. I don't know why I wrote that. I always say this. I don't believe in safe spaces. No offense. There are only intentional spaces. So the intention that we create here is really to minimize stigma. And I use the word minimize over like prevent or eradicate or destroy or end, because these are violent words and we don't want to perpetuate stigma with any violence or negativity. So I'm only going to give y'all like a minute to answer, but I'm curious to know if anyone has any working definition for themselves of what stigma is. Anybody can just blurt it out. What is stigma? You can say that louder. Ooh. Judgment. What else? Did somebody say lies? Oh, bias. All right, I appreciate that. So a working definition that I like to use is from Irving Goffman. He's the author of the book Stigma, Notes on Management of Spoiled Identity. Spoiled like spoiled milk, not like spoiled like you had everything handed to you. And so with that definition, it is an attribute that makes a person feel less whole. Simple as that. That's like the most simple definition that I've seen or heard. And I like to use that to work from. So what I want to do next is, just for the next couple of minutes, if you need to grab your phone, you can do that. But I would like for people to just ground themselves real quick and just kind of place your feet on the ground, sit upright in your chair. I love this crowd control. Ooh. All right, so if it feels safe to you, look around real quick. Just notice what everything looks like around you. And then I invite you to close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, see if you have to like be in first person. I know exiting the body for some people can be a little bit traumatic, but for those of you who feel comfortable to, just visualize yourself, maybe just looking overhead. But if you're someone who's in your seat and you need to just be looking outward, you can do that as well. I want you to take a full exhale, completely emptying out the lungs. And then when you inhale, fill the lungs up with breath as much as you can. And then exhale, empty everything out. Inhale, bring everything in. And I want you to allow yourself to maintain that rhythm of breathing just over the next 2.5 minutes. Now, while you're breathing, whichever route you went between first and third person of viewing yourself, I want you to think about your identifications. Everyone here, I believe, works in some capacity with NCSD, so we have an identity as maybe an employee or an employer. We might be parents. We might be siblings. And what I want you to do as I go through each of these identifiers is just envision sort of an energetic line coming away from you into like a little baby version of yourself, right? So parent, child of parents, sibling, employee. Maybe you're a community member of some sort. Maybe someone's depending on you familially. Friend, relationship. These are just some of the ways that I think many of us can readily identify as how we show up in the world, right? So you're here, you're breathing, and you're able to see those energetic lines, whatever your favorite color is, branching out from where you are now into these little baby versions of yourself, okay? Continue to breathe, and I want you to sort of take a screenshot of all the identifiers that you have around you. And just maybe think of the number in your mind, because maybe there are things that you identify outside of that. Maybe socioeconomic status, perhaps race, gender, okay? And once you get that screenshot, I invite you to take one more breath. And then right after that last exhale, you can begin to flutter your eyes open. Ain't nobody pull their phone out. Look at y'all. And real quick, you can just take a couple neck rolls, rub your hands, open, close. You can stomp your feet a little bit, all right? Now we took that screenshot. I want to know if you can just, by show of hands, or if you ain't got enough hands, like how many energetic lines did you have going away from your body? We can shout some numbers out or throw our hands up. What we got? 10? Okay. More than 10? Anybody have more than 10? Anybody want to share what some of those were? Just some identifiers? And you ain't got to if you don't want to. Nurse? Okay. Okay. Grandfather? What'd you say in the back? Therapist? I heard queer. What else did I hear? Auntie. Okay. Spouse? All right. Son? Okay. How are we on time? Y'all, I've never done this in 20 minutes, so yeah, I'm jumping around here too. So I just wanted to name some observations. If anyone, if there was anything anybody wanted to share, you got like 30 seconds. So we ain't got time for I don't want to share. Does anybody want to share any observations as we went through that visualization? What you got?
Well, the first one that I thought of was native, and kind of thinking about community, and then you started saying, well, native your mom, native your sisters, and oh, well, yeah, that's a lot more personal, but I immediately was thinking of community, what community am I part of?
So community, and what communities you're a part of, right? Okay, thank you for that, because I think that is really important as well. But is there anything else that you wanted to add to that?
It kind of got a little dark for me a little bit, because I said, well, I'm Uncle Brown, and I was like thinking of other stuff, I had to bring myself back.
Okay, you jumped ahead. That is exactly the point that I was going to make about what people who are experiencing stigma kind of go into. Would you say that it felt like one of those baby extensions of you were maybe heavier than the rest as you sort of went down that dark road? Mm-hmm.
So it's always something that comes up, and something that I grew up knowing. And so in this case, even though I'm not Hispanic, it's just something that I recognize and know, and it's just always there. And so I think that's why I thought about it when I was doing this.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Has anyone had a similar experience of that? Everybody close your eyes and raise your hand if you did. Okay, we got a few hands. Everybody put your hands down before everybody opens their eyes. Okay. This is very synonymous from what I've experienced in talking to people, of what people who are struggling with stigma experience. So while like we try and say stigma is this and we verbalize it, like on a somatic level, that's what it feels like. It feels like an extreme over identification with a fragmented part of self. And a lot of what I speak to is really just identity validation for people to see themselves outside of that part of themselves in which they're over identified with. And through presence, practices of presence, we're able to take those lines of all of these identifiers and bring them home. But that's like more yoga than what we have time for today. So I'm sorry to just kind of lead y'all there, but I wanted to speak to some of those observations. So we saw the statistics from the 2019 STI Engage that I went to and presented at, and now we're looking at the 2023-2024 survey that we conducted through Something Positive for Positive People, which has now become so much more than just me being a dude with a podcast asking people who are in these support groups, hey, you want to talk about herpes? Because now we're able to get a lot more responses. That first survey was 100 people. This one was, I have a slide later, but this stands out. I always say that sexual health is mental health, because the over-identification with one's sexuality as one of those identifiers, when someone gets herpes, it's not I have this diagnosis, it becomes I am this diagnosis. And the weight of that, what I was trying to speak to, I didn't mean to like try and put words in your mouth or your experience, is like the weight of that, it just makes a person forget all these other aspects of themselves. And so the identity validation piece is just being a space that reminds people that you are whole. Going back to Irving Goffman's definition of stigma, right? That attribute that makes a person feel less than whole. All right. So I have to go through these really, really fast because it's like a few screenshots, but the slides are in your, okay, thank you. All right, because I just did it. I ain't gonna lie. I put the rest of this presentation, like I modified this yesterday because I asked the community, there was someone who reached out for support, and I was like, damn, this would be great for the presentation. So here we have someone, hold on, I wanna play this. Oh no, it won't play. All right, never mind. It's somebody texting, so I thought it was real cool to see like somebody texting while this was popping up. But the synopsis here is that someone reached out to me on Instagram and they just wanted to share their story. Theme for today, right? So she had no expectations of what she was going to get out of it. She appreciates what it is that we do, and this is as the result of a community that's been going on since 2017, that's just perpetually stayed in motion of being a space for people to share their stories. I'm about to click through, so if you want to speed read through the rest of it, you can. But essentially what we have here is that someone was in a relationship for 5 years, disclosed to the partner that they have herpes, it's a non-monogamous relationship. Partner's like, hey, I don't want to deal with this shit no more, okay? So here's what community support looks like in action. I just shared that screenshot and made everything anonymous and just asked, hey, if y'all have any words for our friend here, please share them. So we got a lot of these. Some of these responses are very extreme. I didn't put all of them up here, but here's some of them, right? Like normalizing not just the stigma of living with an STI, living with herpes, but also normalizing that the relationship structure. So we talk about stigma and identifiers. We're dealing with someone who is non-monogamous. We're dealing with someone who was in a relationship who's also dealing with a breakup. So there's these other identifiers there as well. So here's the kind of support that we're able to get from being involved with, engaged in community. And this is one of the things that is so healing for people, because now this person is able to see themselves outside of just their herpes diagnosis. Here's some more, if y'all want to just take a moment to read these. Yeah, I mean, I had the general consensus. I don't know if y'all got any ideas based on what y'all saw. I'm assuming this dude probably just didn't really want to say what the real reason was and just kind of dismissed it off the herpes. So what you see here is like these are all different responses from different people. So like the community is very apt to show up for people who are willing to be vulnerable and share their stories, as long as there's an intentional space for it. Everybody knows Courtney Brame Instagram. Y'all can follow me, Courtney Brame, all one word. My Instagram is a space for minimizing stigma. Minimizing. I ain't trying to kill it, end it, destroy it, erase it, eradicate it. It ain't going nowhere. It's too much money to be made off medications. All right. So the beautiful thing here, I got consent to share this. And the individual, I just let her know, hey, look at the stories. Like, you can see the support. This is what she sent. Y'all, this part, next slide, almost made me tear up a little bit. Her sister reached out to me and was like, oh my God, this is my sister. And wait, did I say? Oh, I unsent the message. I was like, no fucking way. Are you serious? Like, I was really enthusiastic and excited about it. But it was real cool, like, that this made it back to her sister. Her sister was able to see that she was getting the support that she needed. She knew that she was going through it, and she really didn't have much of a way to be supportive to her because she doesn't really know what this person's going through. Like, she can be there for her and listen, but there's something about that identity validation piece that is oftentimes missing. And fortunately for me, like, I don't have rules to abide by, letters behind my name. I can just press record, start talking, say some things, put it out there, and people maybe reach out, they resonate or they don't, and I get whatever feedback I get. I know like a lot of people don't have that privilege of being able to be as open and vulnerable. So I feel like it's a very purpose driven thing for me to be able to be transparent about what my story is. And then I told her I was using this for the presentation. You see, hey, and you can see the timestamps on there. I was working 5:18 a.m. But something that's also relevant here is that the power of this storytelling has created sort of this gravity, drawing people in who also want to not only share their stories, but also, because of the intention, wanting to get involved in a way that we're able to get survey data. So I'm able to understand the Something Positive for Positive People audience. I just threw like some bullet points up there. 14% of respondents are male. So we're dealing with mostly women and non-binary people. The whole thing about dirty. So what I love about our surveys is that we get to the nitty gritty of things and find out like, what is dirty? What are some of these stigmatizing things that people make assumptions about for people with herpes? And so we look at before people's diagnosis, whether they've tested positive for any other STIs since their diagnosis. And you see the differences here. And I believe that there's a positive correlation between someone getting an STI and then being like, oh shit, this is real. Okay, let me be a little bit more communicative. Let me see what resources are out there. Because you really don't have a reason to until you have a reason to. Patient-provider communication. Ooh, that was very important. So we were able to see the patient-provider communication about STIs between a healthcare provider initiating conversation about sexual health with the person, or the person initiating discussions with their provider about sexual health. And you see 30% and 34% are never, like no one in these periods are talking about sex and sexual health. So we're able to see like a lot of what many issues are outside of herpes and sexual health, but also the communication component. Looking at STI prevention, I don't like that word, but it's what everybody uses. Prevention to me means, hey, if we do this, this will not happen. I like minimization. It's on everything because we're minimizing the risk. You can use a condom wrong, you can use a condom right, and then just be like, oh, there's things that can go wrong. I don't have time to really go into. The ease of talking about it. Communication is a very important thing. When we talk about like how unethical or dirty people with herpes are, what we see is that 87% of people have disclosed their status to a romantic partner, despite how difficult it is. So 37% say very difficult, 36% say say just difficult. So that's a very high number of difficulty for talking about it. Talking about safer sex practices, condom use. 73% of people with herpes never wear condoms for oral. So like, people with herpes aren't just like unwillingly passing it on to partners or anything like that. A lot of people are consenting to sexual acts with people with herpes. These are things that we've been able to learn. I'm probably like over. Okay, cool. So That full survey is like 2 hours long. If you want more information, hit that QR code. The password is no stigma. Please don't share this because a lot of people bought tickets to this conference. And so, yeah, I want to just like, I don't want the word to get out. Did any of y'all go to the conference last year? The herpes stigma conference? Oh, cool. All right. Don't tell nobody about this. All right. So the website for more information is Something Positive for Positive People. It's just spfpp.org. I'm Courtney Brame. TikTok, I really don't TikTok. So if you go there, you see like a post every few months maybe, but I'm most active on Instagram at Courtney Brame. I'd like to open up for any questions. I think we only got like 5 minutes, right? All right. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Wait. I saw another hand.
Oh yeah. Are you a clinical yoga professional? Is that like how you like use yoga in your setting? Like, or sort of like, are you like a yoga teacher? Clinical, like, are you a clinical yoga teacher?
When you say clinical, what do you mean?
It's just a yoga certification.
Oh, no. So I have a 200-hour that really taught me how to put people in postures, and a 300-hour certification that taught me more of the philosophy. So like, if we want to go there, we can. But I don't know if we do. But the way that I use it is really for there's a concept of the koshas that speaks to the body, the energy, nervous system, mental, emotional, and like bliss body. Like, oh wow, sorry. I will just kind of talk to people from that lens and just kind of see what information they're giving me, and then use practices of yoga, whether that be movement, breathing, meditation, self-reflection, to help guide them. Kind of like the meditation we did, where it was like people's identity is scattered, like find out where they are and try and bring that home with presence. Does that answer your question? All right. I'm a yoga therapist in training, so I'm going through that, but yeah, I can't really say like yes to that yet. Did any? No, you were second.
Okay, so I'm someone who's living with herpes. So
Thank you for sharing that.
This is the first time I've ever shared it in front of a group in 8 years. But thank you.
Y'all see the power of storytelling? Just saying, power of storytelling.
So much of that resonated with me in my experience, and those who I've confided in, and they've also told me the same and what their experience has been. And one thing that irritates me, because I also work in public health and sexual health. So in practice, right, of the screenings that happen, unless you show up with symptoms or disclose, I know I had unprotected sex, whatever, with someone who has herpes, you're not going to get tested, right? And there's tons of reasons why. I mean, the only reason I got tested, I mean, I got screened out also because, like, they weren't going to talk about sexual health, all this other stuff. It's kind of a real mess. So what I find interesting and what I'm curious about from the people in this room, right, is you might work at an STI clinic, you might be DIS, you might be doing these things, but in practice, it's very rare to even test for herpes or screen for it. And so there is obviously folks like myself do have suicidal ideation. There isn't a wildly massive psychosocial burden to this, but clinically it's not like a priority. And that's no judgment. I understand the reasons why. But so how do we reconcile? And I just love that you are here talking about this because there is so much focus on syphilis, gonorrhea, HIV, chlamydia. You know what I mean? But this kind of goes like, left alone. And I had a provider tell me, we can treat it, and like you're not going to die. It's not HIV. You're not going to die if you're not getting treatment. But psychologically and mentally, this can be so much damage without. There's no U equals U for me, right? So like I don't know. I just wonder how this is. I just find it fascinating you're talking about this in this space because it's so powerful. But in reality, like as the folks who are the DIS or the clinicians, like how do you reconcile this in the work that you're doing?
Well, we got like 30 seconds.
Sorry, that took me a really long time.
No, I'm showing 6.
6 seconds?
No.
Oh, wow. So I've had conversations with people throughout. And while there's like stigma, one of the things that I continue to see is that like there's no prioritization of it, right? Like there's the psychological and the emotional piece of it, but that's really it. Oh, what y'all got?
I will share, one of my patients is in a clinical trial for a herpes vaccine, and the idea is that the vaccine will boost your immunity that will prevent you from having outbreaks. So there is that. That's going through clinical trials. So that's some.
There's a lot of stuff happening that like is a lot of people wouldn't know about until they're in the situation. Like there is another medication for like people who might be in chemo or super immunocompromised to be able to take that apparently is more effective than the generic brands of medication that we have, but a lot of people don't know about it. And there's some petitioning happening now to get that like publicly available. I saw like 5 hands just went up.
This was quick. In regards to not testing, I used to be an MA with Planned Parenthood, and we were advised to never herpes test, which I did what I wanted because I disagree with that. But a lot of times we were advised that because sometimes patients were like self-pay or out of pocket or due to high co-pays and stuff for those tests. So some of it connects with that, Yeah, unfortunately. they're not covered for like the free STI.
And the prevalence of like oral herpes was another reason why we were told not to test. They were just like, everyone has oral, so it's always going to be positive. I was like, we don't want to know.
We have one here.
It's more so a comment. Earlier the slide said sexual health is mental health, and that is insanely true. I feel like if you aren't in like the best mental space, you can make very risky sexual behaviors. So yeah, just and you killed it on your time. So
Thank you. Yeah. I was like, 20 minutes. Show your hand up.
I would just say, because I too am a publicist, but I have found that the number of people living with herpes is in the 80%, if I'm not mistaken. So I think a lot of the reason too that they're not testing for that is because you can't contact trace that, right? So you could have had this and been living with this for such an extended period of time. You're gonna go home and punch out whatever it is, and they may not be the right.
Yeah, no, that's part of my psychology.
Yeah.
But I think a lot more people are living with it than they even know, or that they're choosing to admit. So it's great that you have the statistics, but I do think there's quite a few more individuals that are not counted because, again, that stigma and the shame that comes from it, and like, I'm not.
And I do need to, I forgot to preface this with, I hear from like worst case scenario people. I believe that most people living with herpes are okay. They're either in a relationship or unaffected by it. They don't have outbreaks, or they just don't know they have it. Like ignorance is bliss, right? When I hear from people, it's they just got diagnosed, or the relationship they were in that took their mind off of everything has ended, and now they're having to get back out into the dating world. But oh yeah, herpes was in the title. I was going to say, like, do y'all feel like we hit all the objectives? All right, everybody get the somatic experience. Did you get the example of how community in action can be supportive to storytelling? And then whatever that third one was. Minimizing stigma, yeah. Okay, we have 2 minutes worth of time left. If anybody has any questions, any feedback, statements, anything.
Do you, in your podcast, are there any topics where it's about disclosing to partners?
Yes, episode 299. So this is one of my board members is Dr. Eveline Molina Dacker. She is a family physician, and she speaks to the STARS method. We're going to have a workshop actually July 21st where she's going to come on, and I'll have a Zoom link for anyone who wants to participate. And she's going to go over it. It's a 2-hour workshop where we talk about like essentially how to have safer sex conversations. And it's not exclusively about the sex and the sexual health. It's about safety, turn-ons, avoids, relationship intentions, and then STI status. So she's going to teach people how to navigate that conversation for themselves so that they can go into a disclosure. I hate that word too because we're not signing legal documents. It's not a confession, it's a conversation. So she's going to give people that practice and that resource to be able to navigate this. And yeah, but episode 299, I interview her and we apply it to herpes. So if you just Google SPFPP 299, it will be the first thing that comes up. We probably got like 30 seconds left. I can't believe we got this far ahead. I was. And my screenshot presentation. What you got?
Where's your podcast based at?
Everywhere. So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. My home was affected by the tornado, so I kind of been a nomad for the past like 2 weeks. So I'm on the road. I'm gonna house sit in San Antonio in June, and then I'll be able to go back home. Insurance check cleared today though, so. But yeah, it's virtual. But I plan to move to New York in the fall, so I'll probably be in Brooklyn. But everything's virtual. We talk to people across the world. You wouldn't believe how stigma is different around the world. I should stop now. All right. Thank y'all.